In our previous videos, we presented the foundation theory. And in the last video, we went over how the foundation for reality has some kind of mental nature. Since you cannot reduce mind to matter, then mind must be primary. In this video, I'm going to go over how the foundation theory can explain our universe and all the matter that exists. Let's begin. The first thing to understand is the fine-tuning of the universe. Physicists have been able to measure with increasing accuracy what it takes for a universe like ours to be suitable for any life at all. Furthermore, they have also been able to figure out how the universe is stable to begin with. For example, one feature of the universe is the rate of expansion. This rate is like a dial that requires a very precise value for any stable organization. What it shows us is that if you turn this dial slightly to the right, then matter and antimatter completely annihilate each other, and the universe collapses into nothing. And if you turn slightly to the left, then the universe expands too quickly to form anything. This is still true even if there are other non-carbon-based life forms. Some fine-tuned laws, like the cosmological constant, if any different, would make our universe unstable for planets or stars to ever form. Fine-tuning does not assume that ours is the only possible set of life-permitting laws. Now, fine-tuning is a complex topic, and there is a lot of technical work on the subject. However, what is generally agreed upon is that our universe cannot exist without fine-tuned laws. I believe the foundation theory provides the answer as to why the universe is fine-tuned. The universe is fine-tuned because there is a foundation that allows it to exist in a certain way. The foundation of all existence is the foundation of everything in existence, including mind and matter. Now, there are many different proposals that can explain why our universe organizes in the way it does. The first proposal is that the universe came about by chance. So the explanation for why the universe is fine-tuned is due to chance, and therefore no deeper explanation is necessary. Now, is chance the best explanation? Consider that this video exists, and that there had to be someone to make it. One explanation of this video's existence is that it came about by chance. I just randomly type letters, or they just randomly appear from nowhere, and the video editing just randomly came about. And so according to this explanation, this video and all of its contents are just came about by chance. Now, this explanation is conceivable, but it is highly improbable. If someone wins the lottery 10 times in a row, then the chance hypothesis is improbable. A better explanation is available. If we say that the universe came about by chance, then we fall into improbabilities. This even applies if there is a multiverse. A multiverse itself would still include fine-tuning in order to produce any fine-tuned universes. Furthermore, a multiverse would still have to have fine-tuned laws to give other universes fine-tuned laws. So chance creates a probability problem. Just as these very words and this very video you are watching is improbable by mere chance, so are the conditions for life and the complex structure of the universe are improbable by mere chance. The second proposal is that the universe is suited for our existence because if it didn't, then we would not be here. If the universe were not suited for our existence, then we wouldn't be able to observe anything, and you would not be watching this video. And thus our existence explains why the universe is suited for our existence. However, this proposal is incomplete. An explanation of why you exist is different than the explanation of the things you found out. For example, if we suppose that you survived a plot to kill you, your survival doesn't explain how or why you survived. The fact that we do exist is not an explanation for why the universe exists. What remains to be explained is why the universe happens to exist in a way it does with fine-tuning in order for us to be here. The third proposal is that there are some deeper physical laws, and so we can hypothesize that some basic physical features determine that the universe is fine-tuned. This explanation is incomplete. The proposal does not explain anything except it pushes the mystery back. If there are deeper laws, then why are those deeper laws there in a certain way? Having a basic set of fundamental laws doesn't explain why the laws are that way. The fourth proposal is simply that we must have something natural as the explanation for fine-tuning. So the argument is that the foundational mind theory is not a scientific theory, and so positing a mind behind matter is a science stopper because it stops us from looking for a naturalistic explanation. Now the problem with this argument is that it makes an error in explanations. So for example, it's pretty easy to infer that this video has a mind that made it. Now perhaps the real worry here is not with minds, but rather with the idea of a supernatural mind that is beyond all material forms. And so the worry here is that science reveals natural causes and not supernatural ones. However, the words natural and supernatural have imprecise meanings that vary from person to person. So we must seek to explain how a mind could anchor the things we know rather than stumble over words. I think the foundational mind hypothesis could be an explanation. First, the foundational mind could have a rational nature. Its rationality is a feature by which the foundation acts in accordingly law-like ways. A foundational mind could cause motions and matter organizations according to rational and discoverable patterns. In this way then, the foundational mind hypothesis is a meta-scientific hypothesis, and that it explains the success of science itself. And so this rational mind would underlie the rational causal order. After all, science does depend on rational minds, like scientists, to make discoveries, and the laws that we discover are themselves rational. The fifth proposal is that we must have something simple. So, if complexity requires an explanation, so too does the complexity of a foundational mind. This simply means that we can be reasonably sure that a mind is not foundational, because we can be confident that the foundation is not complex in a way that a mind would be. Simple particles and laws are more probable than a complex mind. Now, I think this objection is right, and that the foundation for reality must be simple, at least in its fundamental characterization. If we recall earlier in the series, we showed why the foundation for reality is simple with no arbitrary limits. The foundation's basic nature lacks unnecessary complexity, and so the most probable account of the foundation is the simplest. You run into problems when you try to explain all complexity in terms of even greater complexity, and so it's simpler to explain all complexity by a simple root. Now, while simplicity may indeed cut against the theory that the foundation is a purely third-person brain, simplicity does not cut against a theory of a purely first-person substance. The concept of your first-person self does not build in material complexity. And so the foundation for reality is a purely first-person self. Unlike our first-person self, which has connections with material forms, the foundational self could exist prior to all material forms. This mind, then, has thoughts in the most fundamental way. The fundamental mind does not first create a law that connects its thoughts with the patterns of neurons. Rather, it simply thinks in a basic way. The inner nature of this fundamental mind would be purely simple and complete or purely actual. And so in short, the foundation could be a purely first-person mind without arbitrary limits or unnecessary complexities. The sixth proposal is the multiverse hypothesis. This simply means that there are many universes, or infinitely many, and so some life may form within another universe by chance. Now the first thing we need to note here is that the multiverse hypothesis does not compete with the foundational mind hypothesis, and the ultimate mind could produce many universes. Secondly, Mere multiplication of universes does not itself explain how even one universe could have life forms. An infinite amount of car factories will never produce a turtle. Similarly, an infinite amount of universes does not automatically guarantee that any universe is suited for life. Now, one could say that there is an infinite amount of conceivable universes. If this is the case, then it predicts that we exist since we are conceivable. The problem with this hypothesis, however, is that it leads to a contradiction. We can conceive of a universe with a black hole that spans the entire blob of everything, but we can also conceive of a universe that is not itself a black hole. In other words, a multiverse would still have to be fine-tuned. We would still need a highly specific set of rules to govern the multiverse. The final proposal is simply that the foundational mind has the power to form intentions. And so this simply means that the foundational mind intentionally created our universe and its life forms. For example, if we propose the hypothesis that there is a mind behind this video, but then the second hypothesis is that there is no mind behind this video, we can use the same sort of thing to test which theory is better, and that this video had an intention behind it. Having no mind behind this video is improbable. It is unexpected that words like this on the screen came about without a mind. The hypothesis that it has no mind would go against expectations, and it is against ordinary experiences. However, this video does make sense if there is a mind behind it. This video is evidence that the full explanation of the existence of this video is not merely a consequence of things without a mind. What we know is that matter has organized into complexity. The two hypotheses are that there is a foundational mind or that there is no mind. The foundational mind has intentions, whereas the other hypothesis does not have intentions. Now, given our previous example, we know that a foundational mind can explain consciousness. It has the construction materials for sensations, private access, and personal control. By the same token, we can see that the foundational mind provides an additional resource, which is that it has the power to aim and organize matter into a place for embodied minds. Without a foundational mind, then we have nothing to organize matter into anything. Now, an objection to the foundational mind hypothesis is what is called the reverse construction problem. This is simply that it is a construction error to produce physical things from mental things. So, just as there is a construction error in getting a mind from non-mental things, there too is a construction error in getting non-mental things from a mind. However, there is one way that the foundational mind hypothesis could solve this problem. The foundational mind can have the same kind of power that we have to form images in our own minds. So for example, when you think of a triangle, then you can see that it has the shape of a triangle within your mind. In this way, while our thoughts can be private to ourselves, the foundational mind's thoughts could actually be public. This mind can form material objects through the power of its imagination. In this way then, matter itself would be the extrinsic appearance of the mental. When we look out into the universe, we are seeing the mental thoughts of the foundational mind. With this hypothesis in place then, it bypasses the reverse construction problem because matter itself is the extrinsic appearance of the foundational mind's thoughts, which means that the universe is literally the foundational mind's imagination. Furthermore, biological unity confirms that getting life from non-life depends on fine-tuned conditions. Everything in science, from the fine-tuning of the universe to computer simulations, all confirm this fact. A final objection is to say that the universe is necessary. So the reason that the universe is fine-tuned is because it couldn't have been any other way. The problem with this, however, is that it assumes that the universe is the foundation for reality. Since we have laid out the issue with arbitrary limits in a previous video, we can extend the argument to show why the material universe is not the foundation. Premise 1. No logically necessary truth entails a cutoff with respect to the number of atoms, particles, superstrings, or any other bits of matter. Premise 2. Whatever isn't logically necessary, or entailed by a logically necessary truth, can, consistent with logic, have a further, non-circular explanation. Conclusion: therefore, the number of bits of matter, atoms, particles, etc., can have a further explanation. Premise 4. The total of necessary things cannot have a further explanation, or in other words, the foundation for reality doesn't have an outside explanation. Conclusion: therefore, the total of necessary things is not the same as the total of material bits. This argument shows that matter cannot be necessary, as matter has limits, and so the material universe cannot be the foundation for reality, since it has arbitrary limits, and all things in the universe have a dependent nature. A foundational, purely actual first-person foundation has a simplicity that does not depend on improbable fine-tuned constraints. A foundational mind could have the resources to produce something as interesting as the universe. In a way, you could say that the universe is the byproduct of the foundational mind's imagination, which, as pointed out before, will bypass reverse construction problems. Thus, the foundational mind hypothesis is able to explain the existence of matter. In our next video, we are going to go over how the foundation theory can explain the existence of morality.